Hey, LinkedIn, and welcome to Business Unusual. It is a show where we talk about the impact that coronavirus is having on the way we work. I am Susie Jackson. I'm a news editor at LinkedIn, coming to you live from my home. If you hear any bumping and noises, it's the kids who live upstairs, maybe practicing for a track meet, maybe for the Olympics. I want to hear from you throughout the show today. I want you to drop your comments in the stream, ask questions, talk to each other. Use the hashtag Business Unusual to talk about the topics of the show today on LinkedIn. Today, we're going to be talking about events and life moving online increasingly in this time of coronavirus, of social distancing, of quarantining. We are seeing everything from conferences going virtual to simple, more everyday loose things like team happy hours or birthday celebrations, all happening through video calls. I've had several of them myself. It's been actually pretty fun to connect with friends who I don't normally see. And, what's the difference? Why now? Why are we using video conferencing now to talk once a week when it's been in existence for years? These unusual times. We are going to be joined today by Sophia Amoruso. She is the author of the book Girlboss, the host of Girlboss Radio, the founder of the Girlboss Company. She is the Girlboss. She's going to be talking to us about an event that she has in the spring that they've decided to take virtual. We are also going to be talking with Brad Bateman. He is a licensed real estate agent in New York. He's been practicing for over 15 years. And we're going to hear about how the real estate industry, another business where you really have to do a lot in person, how that's being impacted by the virus. First, I want to take a look at what we're seeing on LinkedIn already in terms of people talking about events and life moving online. This first comment we have is from Lisa. She has convened a group of talented, experienced, and fun women, in her words, to come together virtually to tackle challenges, share ideas, and learn from one another. Maybe most importantly, they're going to be sharing wine together as well every Wednesday. Lisa, you might see me tonight, maybe next week. Ryan is commenting from the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society about their Team in Training fundraising efforts. Team in Training it's an organization you can join when you want to raise money to support leukemia lymphoma research, and you can go run a triathlon, run a marathon, run a half marathon to raise money with a group. And they normally do a lot of group training runs, a lot of real community building around trying to raise money, and they've had to do some virtual meet and greets. So they're looking a little bit differently at how they can connect with one another and still raise money for this great cause, but do it not so in person, because clearly you can't be gathering in groups, not packs of runners, certainly. Next from Scotty D, I think we saw it just a moment ago. Scotty D is calling on Michael Rapinoe, who is the CEO of Live Nation, to move into another venue. He's saying artists can't sit idle while brick and mortar venues sit dark. He is linking to an article from Market Watch, which is talking about a lot of different artists taking advantage of online concerts, of online streaming, some even offsetting some lost revenue from ticket sales. Olivia shares with us one of these artists. Maybe you're familiar with him. DJ Nice has been doing homeschool at Club Quarantine on Instagram for the last week or so. Olivia says to be an innovator, all you have to do is have creativity and a sense of what consumers need. So she thinks DJ Nice has been doing a great job of this. He's been hosting hours-long dance parties from his living room. He's changing his hats. He's getting all these amazing celebrities to watch and ring in. Maybe we can watch a second of one of his performances. There we go. All right. So it seems like we can't quite hear him, which is a little sad because he's spinning some really, really great tunes. But to look more closely at making connections online, I wanted to bring in Sophia Amoruso, who I mentioned is the founder of Girlboss, host of Girlboss Radio, author of the Girlboss book, to talk a little bit about that. So Sophia, hello.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for joining me. How are things looking from LA? I'm in New York. You're in LA. We're both in areas that are on lockdown. How are you feeling this morning?
I'm good. There's a little bit of clouds. It's probably a little cold outside, but I'm sure it's a little bit warmer than New York right now.
I think so. We're cloudy here too. But Sophia, thanks for coming. I wanted to also say hi to Randy and Cynthia. Kyle and Mark are in the stream right now. Hello. Rebecca is working from home with housemates who don't work from home. My gosh. That's got to be an interesting dynamic. Sophia, we were talking a little bit earlier about things like birthday parties, happy hours, lots of virtual connection happening more so than it did before, even though the technology's really been around for a while.
Yeah.
I'd like to show really quickly, you participated in something like this on your own just earlier this week. We're going to see a little clip from a virtual birthday party you attended.
Oh my God, he's going to be so embarrassed. So this is Joe Marchese's, who just acquired my company. He is the founder and CEO of Attention Capital, and his birthday party was on, I think, Monday, and we had a live Zoom party, and we all sang him happy birthday together on Zoom. I didn't do a very good job, but it was really good.
I think you sounded good. I heard some dulcet tones. Is that a party that had been planned in advance as an in-person thing and then switched over to a Zoom call? Or tell me a little bit about how that came to be.
I don't know if he knows there was a party planned. It was more of a surprise. When there's a Zoom link, it's kind of hard to surprise somebody. I wouldn't have been in New York for that anyway, so it was awesome to be able to celebrate him and meet his friends. It was a follow-up on a CC of the original invite a few days before the Zoom call.
Well, that's nice. I hope you got some sort of cake or some candle to blow out too, at least.
My birthday's next month. I'll probably just make a cake with my boyfriend.
Well, you've got the candle there going behind you already, so you know about setting the mood and trying to be personal with these kind of connections that we're trying to make virtually. I wanted to ask you a little bit about the rally. So the Girlboss Rally was supposed to be an in-person event. You had already sold tickets. Talk to me a little bit about what that was going to be, and then the decision now to move it online.
Yeah, so the Girlboss Rally is our conference. We've done 5 now. We're about to host our 6th. We've had women from over 30 countries and 41 states join. And we decided in the wake of coronavirus that democratizing information is just really, really important right now. And we're all figuring out what our careers mean, what our jobs mean. There's so many entrepreneurs and small business owners who are affected by what's happening that we wanted to give it away. So we announced this about a week ago. The Girlboss Rally has moved online. We had 25,000 RSVPs in our first few days. We're getting closer to 30,000. So we're anticipating 10,000 viewers instead of the 1,300 women that we would have expected here in Los Angeles at a physical event, which is really exciting. And it's also global. So while people have flown in for the Girlboss Rally in the past, there's no one has to pay for travel. No one has to pay for tickets. We refunded everybody who had paid for tickets. We've had women from over a dozen countries in all 50 states RSVP, and we have some really big speakers that we're going to be announcing soon. We're covering topics like wellness and self-care and supporting each other during these times, how to manage your finances, how to manage your small business, how to work remotely and lead teams remotely, the importance of having routines and boundary setting at home, especially when you're with family and loved ones and unable to leave the house. And we're going to have it'll be entertaining. It'll be, it's video. We have to keep it really punchy. There'll be some performances. I'm really excited.
Thank you. Tell me a little bit about the logistics of making this pivot. I'm seeing a lot of members posting on LinkedIn who were going to be attendees at conferences that have been canceled, who were the leaders of conferences that are being canceled. I'm also seeing a lot of people pop up with services talking about how to put on a good virtual event. I'm really curious about, with this wealth of services and people offering to help, how do you actually kind of wade through and decide what's best for your business and what kind of event that you want to put on an experience?
Yeah, now there are so many services, so we're really lucky. Lucky this whole pandemic is happening in 2020. I can't say that's true, but we do have so many platforms to both work remotely and collaborate remotely and stream conferences remotely. And so we've been looking to a variety of partners, LinkedIn being one of them. You guys have a best-in-class live video platform. And so it's really learning something new because we're moving out of physical events. We have a social network and a newsletter, but it's very different to cut live video, stream video. We're thinking about recording a certain amount of it upfront, slightly prior to the event, in the same way that Jimmy Kimmel might do the same thing a few hours before, just so we can mitigate any technical difficulties that might come up. But it's a pivot for our team who hasn't really largely not worked in video. So we're all learning on the fly. It's all hands on deck. I'm fully in the weeds. And we're collaborating really, really well remotely. The team is doing an incredible job, and we're using all of the resources that we have and everyone that we know to access all of the information and platforms out there that should make this the biggest women's conference in history.
That's wonderful. I'm seeing a few comments in the stream. We see Ian, who is telling us that he's preparing to host a live virtual nonprofit fundraiser, and he's got almost all the gear to his house now. Ian, good luck. We see Julie, who is telling us that Zoom has been a lifesaver, noting that she thinks all of Wall Street is using it now. And Demetria says that she thinks the birthday party was a really fun idea. So glad that you got to attend, Sophia, and sing. And even though you didn't get to have cake, Demetria loves the strong focus on culture and engagement and community during this kind of time. Brenda is weighing in to say that she wants to do a virtual wedding. My gosh, that's a whole other industry that might spring up from this, depending on how long this lasts. So a wedding is a good kind of segue into, a wedding is a really intimate event. You know, it's everyone that you love. It's all the most important people in your life. If there's a bigger place for a sense of community, I don't know what it is. So tell me, in terms of Girlboss Rally and keeping a sense of community and the networking going, are you thinking about doing anything differently? What kind of plans do you have to make sure that people get as much of that in-person connection or networking as possible, given that, of course, there's even so many more attendees than you originally planned for?
Yeah, so we're lucky to have launched a social network last year, so that helps. We have tens of thousands of women on the platform already. It's currently at girlboss.com. You can add and chat with, network with, post, update your profile. We're about to launch group messaging, which will be a big part of this event. So having conversations about the event in real time on the Girlboss social network platform, as well as in smaller groups, because people feel safer networking a little bit more in smaller groups, more intimately, which really replicates what a conference experience is like.
That's great. What do you see are some of the silver lining opportunities from this? You mentioned that you have a much more diverse, democratized group of attendees. What's the good thing in 6 months that happens after this rally with such a larger swath of people from different places than would have happened if they were all flying in, as you say, to one place?
Yeah, I think for Girlboss, it's an opportunity to innovate and get ahead of the curve. And I think that regardless of how long the coronavirus lasts, this will be something that redefines what conferences really mean. We're moving really quickly. This is something that's happening in the next month and a half. We haven't announced the date yet, but it's happening in short order. And it's also an opportunity to share information to people who may not have been able to afford a ticket, right? People who are being laid off right now, people across the world who have a varying degree of circumstances. You know, I had one woman write me who couldn't buy Girlboss, the book, which was, I don't know, something like $15. And she checked it out from the library and read it and got a job, took my advice, got a job, and then went and bought the book. And it's that person that inspires me the most. And that's the woman that we always want to make sure that has access to what we do at Girlboss, no matter where we are.
That's wonderful. With that person in mind and people like that, I think maybe the answer is you have to figure out how this actually goes this time. But can you see, just in the planning stages of this now, you incorporating more virtual events like this into your docket as you go into the future beyond the virus time?
Absolutely. I mean, we're moving into a world of virtual events. And I think the way community feels, like the way it feels just in this short period of time, what I'm seeing on social and elsewhere feels like humanity's come together, and I'm feeling a lot closer to the people that I even have followed for a long time on social media. And I think we're going to see, not just with what we're doing at Girlboss, we're going to be able to observe so many other people who are experimenting and innovating during this time. And it's going to create an opportunity for a lot of people to network digitally in a way that feels maybe a little bit more contextual and personal and human than we have been able to in the past.
If you're just joining us now, I'm Susie Jackson. This is Business Unusual from LinkedIn, a show where we're talking about the way coronavirus is impacting the way we work. My guest right now is Sophia Amoruso. She is the founder of Girlboss. She's talking a lot about how they had an in-person event scheduled for the spring that is now moving to virtual. And Sophia, we have a question from the stream for you. Michaela wants to know, what online platform are you going to be using to stream the Girlboss Rally? Maybe she's in a situation of her own where she's trying to figure out what events and what
Yeah.
way can happen.
We're talking to a variety of partners. If you're a small organization, there's one called Run the World. That's really cool. It's a startup. They're a year old. They're venture backed. The founder's amazing. So I would look at Run the World. We're looking at platforms that can accommodate over 100,000 viewers, which limits our, who our partners can be. And we're talking to LinkedIn about possibly working with them on what this could look like. LinkedIn would be an amazing platform, but I'd say we are still in the process of locking that down.
Great, thank you. Is there anything else that you want to tell people who are trying to do events on their own or just trying to figure out this life on their own?
I mean, for those of you that are interested in the Girlboss Rally, we're going to create a lot of resources and utilities for you guys. This isn't just about inspiration. It's about real, tangible things and advice that you can take out and improve your life right now. So just short promotional plug. If you want to RSVP, it's girlbossrally.com.
Sophia, thank you so much for joining us, and good luck with the rally.
Thank you.
All right, LinkedIn. We've been talking a lot about bringing events onto the virtual, and it's wonderful to still be able to connect. I just wanted to take a second to point out 2 comments that we found on LinkedIn from people who work in the production, the back end part of events, the people behind the scenes who you don't usually see, just to call out those folks as well. So James owns his own production company, and he wanted to come to LinkedIn to pay tribute to what he calls the backbone of the event industry. He had a lovely lengthy post talking about AV crews, technical PMs, riggers, show callers, the parking lot crews. He wanted us all to know that you do not go unnoticed. Similarly, Vera also runs her own production company, and she came to LinkedIn to talk about the stages of grief she's been going through since all this started. She thinks virtual events make sense, and she's all for them and glad that they can still go on and people can connect, but she wants to fight for those moments that can only come in person, those moments of adrenaline and bonding that come when those people behind the scenes are solving problems in real time. Which, Vera, I have to admit, this show went live a few minutes late because we were still doing that. We had some technical difficulties. So there are different opportunities to still kind of scramble with the team, even in a virtual event. But having worked in the event space for a time, I do hear you. I know what you mean, what it's like to come together and bond over those things. So Vera says she wants to fight to bring live events back. So Vera, I'm with you too. I think at the end of all this, it'll be great to have a virtual component that we've explored that we wouldn't have otherwise, but that live events absolutely, I hope, can come just screaming back in full force. I'm Susie Jackson. This is Business Unusual, LinkedIn show where we talk about the way coronavirus is impacting the way we work. The next guest I want to bring on is someone who works in the real estate industry. So that's another industry that relies heavily, of course, on in-person interaction. Brad Bateman, thank you for joining me.
Hi, Susie. Thank you for having me. I appreciate being here.
Great. Brad has been a licensed real estate agent in New York City for more than 15 years. Here in New York, Brad, non-essential businesses have been ordered to close. So real estate, it's not feeding anyone. It's not delivering medicine. Clearly, you're not open for business as usual right now.
No.
Tell me, what does your world look like right now? What impact is it having on your business?
So it's a very different world, as you said. We're non-essential, so we're staying on the sidelines. We're staying home. I'm actually in a farmhouse upstate. I took my wife and a small child, my daughter, up here to kind of ride this out for a little bit. But we are staying connected to our clients, and we are trying to remain relevant and be helpful in any way that we possibly can to help make sure that our clients are getting what they need. That being said, this is really impacting what we do because real estate is really a relationship business, and it's about maintaining connections and seeing physical spaces. So if you can't actually get into those properties, it's been quite difficult to do what we do. So we understand that everybody's on a pause for the most part. But what we're doing to try to get things still moving and allow people access to these properties is things before the actual lockdown. We were doing FaceTime showings where we were making appointments with different clients and going to the actual properties and doing FaceTime tours of the different properties. We've also taken a lot of videos of our listings so we can do virtual tours and send the videos to the buyers so they can see what's going on. But beyond the actual showings of things, we're just staying in contact with people and just basically listening to what they have to say and what their thoughts and feelings are.
That's great. And if you are lucky enough to still make a sale, in the normal way. Well, I shouldn't say the normal way, but make a sale in this difficult time. Even after the showings and the viewings and the inspections, there's still a lot of in-person paperwork that has to happen for these transactions. So you were telling me earlier that you just did make a sale. How is that actually being completed now? There's notarizations need to happen, people from the bank, etc. There's a lot of moving pieces that are behind the scenes, beyond just the obvious of the open houses, that kind of thing. How is that happening?
Totally, yeah. So I have multiple deals that are still in process from before when the coronavirus came. So these properties still need to close. These buyers still need to get the properties that they're in contract for. And so we're seeing a lot of different issues. I have one that's a co-op board situation where we're putting together the board package with a Google Drive, and we're sharing that to the board members for them to review the buyer's documents. And if they approve those documents, they're planning to set up a Zoom board package interview with these prospective buyers. Another situation that we're having with the closings is we can't actually gather. Usually you have people from both attorneys, the seller, the buyer, you have people from the title, from the various banks, and we can't actually all get into the room together. So one of the solutions that some of the attorneys have started to do is virtual closings. And to do that, the buyers and sellers need to sign power of attorneys. Now, because they can't actually meet a notary, it's a very unique and cool situation where there are some notaries that are doing virtual notarization via FaceTime. And you have to have your photo ID, you have to do it in front of them, and then that gets mailed overnight to your attorney who can then close for you. There's a lot of mail being sent back and forth. It's quite complicated, but these closings are starting to happen virtually. It's easier with condos and with townhouses. Co-ops are still getting some resistance because of the managing agents not wanting to release some of the building board minutes. But we are seeing innovative ways to work around it so that closings can actually happen. We are seeing a bit of a standstill with appraisers and inspections. So some things are being held up, but we're working around with what we got.
That's great. I think a virtual notary sounds wonderful. That's one of those things like buying stamps that I can never manage to do normally and find it at the right time. So I hope that's one that stays in practice even after all this. We have a comment from Mario in the stream who says that he likes to be creative with his FaceTime tours. Brad, walk us through a FaceTime tour? How do you do this? Are you chatting as you normally would? What is that like? How do you try to get that really in-person experience with people?
Yeah, so I'm really asking if a buyer wants, before we were actually locked down, when I was actually able to go to the properties, I was asking the buyers exactly what he wanted to see, and he wanted to see inside the refrigerator. So I was opening refrigerators and opening up drawers to freezers and kind of, snooping around in the apartment. But, when you go to an open house, you want to see all the nuts and bolts of the property. So it was basically as if I was an extension of his hand, opening up the drawers and showing him what the terrace looked like. I do have one particular property that I wasn't able to get to before the lockdown. And fortunately, I have a very easygoing tenant who has a new iPhone 11 camera, and he took some amazing videos of the property for me, which I've been able to share with my clients. So I was thankful to have him in place and help us with that.
That's great. So everyone's really pitching in to try to be creative together. I have one more question before you go. I know that the real estate industry is used to dealing with economic swings. It bears heavily on your business. But what's different about this one?
Yeah, this is way different. I was here in 2008. I've been doing this since 2004. So I saw the first economic downturn. And, that was a whole economic meltdown that we kind of saw happening. But we could still go out and see properties. We could still meet with clients. This is very different. People still need new homes. People are still having babies. People are still wanting to move to the suburbs. All these different reasons for moving are still existing and real, but we don't have access to the properties. We're doing our part by staying home or in the woods to really make sure that everyone is safe so that we can get through this and get beyond this. And we're hoping for a really strong fall market.
Great. Brad, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. I want to make a quick correction. We mistakenly played the wrong video showing DJ Nice. That was actually an excited fan. We couldn't hear it anyway, but you should go to Instagram and follow DJ Nice because he's been doing some really great stuff there. Let's see. Tomorrow, come back, catch us here at noon Eastern, that is. Caroline Fairchild will be back, and she's going to be talking to some people right in the front lines in the healthcare industry. Thanks so much for joining us. This has been Business Unusual.